The Analects of Confucius, also known as the Sayings of Confucius, is a seminal text in Chinese philosophy that has shaped the moral and societal framework of East Asia for centuries. Discover how the timeless wisdom can guide modern ethics, personal growth, and social harmony. One of the central themes of this book is that learning xiao has more to do with actual behavior than academic theory, and that virtuous public behavior as an adult is rooted in such basic familial virtues as filial piety, as respect for elders, and respect for elders, being a good younger brother. The master said, to learn and then have occasion to practice what you have learned. Is this not satisfying? To have friends arrive from afar, is this not a joy? To be patient even when others do not understand, is this not the mark of the gentleman? As Chain Shooted, following Mayokili notes, people today think of learning as the pursuit of knowledge, whereas the ancients thought of learning as cultivating the self. For evidence, he points that Confucius cites Yan Huai as the only one of his disciples that truly loved learning because he never misdirected his anger and never repeated a mistake twice. He also points that learning is described in terms of seldom erring in one's speech and seldom having cause for regret in one's behavior. This is an important point. We will see throughout the text that the sort of learning Confucius is interested in is a practical kind of know-how rather than abstract theoretical knowledge. Li Chong explains that the three activities mentioned in this paragraph refer to the stages of learning: mastering the basics, discussing them with fellow students and working hard at mastering them, and finally becoming a teacher of others. Master, you said, a young person who is filial and respectful of his elders rarely becomes the kind of person who is inclined to defy his superiors, and there has never been a case of one who is disinclined to defy his superiors stirring up rebellion. The gentleman applies himself to the roots. Once the roots are firmly established, the way will grow. Might we not say that filial piety and respect for elders constitute the root of goodness? The line enclosed in quotation marks is probably a traditional saying. A comment upon this passage found in the Garden of Persuasions reads, "If the roots are not straight, then the branches will necessarily be crooked, and if the beginning does not flourish, then the end will necessarily wither." An ode says, "The highlands and lowlands have been pacified. The springs and streams have been made clear. Once the roots are firmly established, the way will grow." The quoted ode is a variant of the extant we see from the common Confucian theme that political order grows naturally out of the moral character formed within the context of family life. As Chen Tianxing notes, we find a similar theme in Mencius. If everyone simply loved their parents and respected their elders, the world would be at peace, the master said. A clever tongue and fine appearance are rarely signs of goodness. This suspicion of glib speech and superficial appearance is found throughout the Analects. The danger presented by glib people in Gren is compared to the derangement of morals brought about by the music of Zhang. David Nivison has made a very interesting observation that may explain Confucius' hatred for these clever, ingratiating people. In archaic Chinese, Ning was pronounced Nine and is actually a graphic modification of its cognate Ren. The original meaning of Ren was something like noble in form, and it would appear that Ning was its counterpart in the verbal realm, attractive or noble in speech. In giving Ning a negative meaning in the Analects, Confucius drives a wedge between the two qualities. Ren now becomes sapu, inner doubleness or virtue, whereas Ning represents the false external counterfeit of Ren. This is no doubt the sentiment behind such passages. The good person is sparing of speech and reticence is close to goodness, as well as Confucius' general suspicion of language and outward show. Every day I examine myself on 3 counts. In my dealings with others, have I in any way failed to be dutiful? In my interactions with friends and associates, have I in any way failed to be trustworthy? Finally, have I in any way failed to repeatedly put into practice what I teach? Here again, we find the emphasis on practice, which means actual social behavior, as opposed to academic, theoretical knowledge. The sort of incessant self-examination practiced by Master Xing no doubt informs his observation that the burden is heavy and the way is long, or the importance of introspection. The Master said, "To guide a state of 1,000 chariots, be respectful in your handling of affairs and display trustworthiness. Be frugal in your expenditures and cherish others, and employ the common people only at the proper time." A great deal of commentarial ink has been spilled over the question of exactly how large a state of 1,000 chariots is, but for our purposes, it suffices to note that it is not small. Employing the common people refers to the use of peasant farmers in public work projects, which should be timed so as to not interfere with their agricultural activities. Early texts suggest that the levy should not exceed 3 days in a year. As Brooks and Brooks note, the description does not imply a minister leading state, but a middle administrator. Dutiful toward his superiors, thoughtful of his junior colleagues, and appropriate in his demands on the subject population, the Master said. A young person should be filial when at home and respectful of his elders when in public. Conscientious and trustworthy, he should display a general care for the masses, but feel a particular affection for those who are good. If he has any strength left over after manifesting these virtues in practice, let him devote it to learning the cultural arts. There is some debate about how to understand the term wen here, but it most likely refers to a set of cultural practices such as those later formalized as the so-called 6 arts of ritual: music, archery, charioteering, calligraphy, and mathematics, in which any cultured person was trained. Liu Baiyan notes that the purpose of this passage is to emphasize that manifesting filial piety and respect for elders in one's behavior is the primary concern, while the study of the cultural arts is secondary. As Yin Tun puts it, virtuous behavior is the root, while the cultural arts are the branches. Only by exhausting both root and branches, and knowing which is primary and which secondary, can one enter into virtue. This theme is reinforced